too. So let's see how it goes.
Awesome. Well, first off, Pedro, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. Like I said, when I was looking through your experience, there were some things that really jumped off the page to me as being quite unique, right? You're not necessarily someone who just has a bunch of restaurant experience. I'm sure there is restaurant experience, and you certainly have some now.
Yeah.
But a background in advertising, a background in marketing, probably a background in being an entrepreneur. The one thing that I always see is the great operators have these diverse backgrounds. And I'm really curious, like when you went in and started building your brand, what was that first piece of previous experience that you pulled to and said, hey, I know it worked here and I can do this with what I'm doing now?
That's beautiful. That's a great question, man. I think with my background in marketing, as you said, and working with like the corporate world, and joining my brother that was more in the restaurant business, actually, I think I'm going to say something cliche here, but it's the people, you know, understanding. I did a lot of events and conventions for big companies in Brazil, and seeing the people and seeing that moment that the brands got the commercial team together and putting everybody in a resort or in a convention room and talking about the year. That's something that we normally don't see in the restaurant business, you know? So just to answer your question, the first thing was I told Cleo, my brother, I said, look, we have to get these people all together. We have 3 stores already. We have to put everybody in the same place, you know, like, because we have people working in 3 stores that they never met each other, and they're in the same concept, in they're on the same day that we are creating and building and breathing our brand. So I think putting people together and starting this mindset of taking out just from the presentation, the culture, right? A lot of people talk about putting on the presentations, on the decks, you know, but you have to really put in practice. So that's something that I think resonated just in the beginning to like cross backgrounds and having my brother and me together. So that mix for us, the last 3 years and a half that we've been working together. I think the diverse background, as you said, it touches in that point.
Definitely. What did you notice when you first did that? When you brought the people together, right? You took that. Was there any big? What did you see? What was that spark?
People were like, "Wow!" Like we brought food. We brought a speaker. You know, we brought somebody from out of our world to talk with them. Not just me and Cleo, because I told him, look, it can't just be me and you all the time. It's curious to bring somebody from the outside to talk with them and get that spark, you know, like when we did the first one, we said, okay, we have to do this at least like every 6 months. We wanted to do more. I'll tell you that. But at the end of the day, running the restaurant, I'm not going to say it's tough. Everybody knows that. And to have that time, but you have to schedule and put in practice, because putting the people together and not just that little world that they have in each store. Of course, we're a small brand. I imagine that for brands with 100 stores and everything, that becomes more complicated. But you have to adapt and see, okay, this is my scenario. How can I promote even more what I believe? Because at the end of the day, those are the people that are in front of our guests, working day, night, you know, and everything that we believe and everything that we want to share, especially us being like a Brazilian healthy concept, 100% gluten-free. We're bringing something different to the market. We have to have those people, these teams, like integrated and motivated, because in most of them, they are Brazilians, and it's not a must to be a Brazilian to work at that. We have a Filipinian manager in one location. We have Puerto Ricans, but the majority are Brazilians, and we're selling Brazil at the same time. We're bringing Brazil, a little bit of Brazil to the US. So we have to have that mix and that hospitality this warm, welcoming smile on their faces. It can't just be, it's not fake, it can't be fake, because if not, we're not going to impact each guest the way we want to,
Completely. Right. And I think about that guest experience, and it doesn't matter if and I've said this so many times, it doesn't matter if you're walking into a Michelin star, you're going to spend thousands of dollars on this meal, or you're grabbing a sandwich, right? And you're moving on. At the end of the day, you're still buying hospitality. At the end of the day, you're still coming in looking for an experience. And at the end of the day, it's that experience that's going to cause you to come back, right? And continue to come back. And there's lots of beautiful food out there, a lot of amazing restaurateurs. If we choose to go back to that same location, a lot of the times it serves something more than just the food. It's the way that it makes you feel, the way that someone greets you when you walk in your door. And regardless of where you fall on that restaurant spectrum, QSR, the Michelin star,
exactly,
you have that opportunity. And that's what becomes the paramount piece. So anyways, going back to what you had mentioned about bringing people together.
Yeah.
Right. And seeing the impact. What was the result?
I think the result we're seeing ongoing, I truly believe that what we're building in a still beginning phase, like our brand already has 8 years, but imagine pandemia, and then I joined 3 years already in changing and bringing what we are today. We're totally different from what we were at the Upper West Side in 2019, and in that part of looking at the people and putting our staff actually in the middle, and then going to the guest, and then thinking about the rest, because sometimes we think about only the guest, right? Oh, the guest has to be in the front. They're number one. The customer, they are the main focus. But I truly believe that when we put the people, our turn rates, it went much like the levels of the turn rates came down. And we started to be able to improve our hospitality, looking at the details, So the other part of what I brought with my background with marketing and understanding the storytelling part, the necessity of that, because at the end of the day, people want experience, as you said, or convenience, So that's what people, at least I believe in that. People are looking for experience or convenience. They're willing to pay for it, but you have to have that wow. If not, people are going to jump to another option. We have 3 stores in New York. It's a lot of people when we talk in the industry, there are a lot of people that are afraid of going to New York, right? Like, oh my God, no, I'm just going to New York after I have 50 locations or anything. I know it can sound weird or simple because we started in New York, but I love to talk about this because I think people have to look at New York in a different spectrum. If you have a good concept, if you believe in your concept, you have a foot traffic that you can't find anywhere else, probably in the world. So that's the best place. Oh, but it's expensive. How am I going to deal with that? Of course, it has a price, but if you believe that you have something different, New York, the rates are really high of closing businesses, especially in the restaurant business. Of course, it's not easy. But I truly believe that if you have that mindset of experience and bringing something unique, you're going to impact, and you have the people right in front of you. So having that mentality, we started to look into the details with the music, with the sound. So, looking at the facade. We did a survey 3 years ago, and 67% of our guests knew about Tapi walking down the street. It wasn't Google. It wasn't Instagram. It wasn't Facebook. It was almost 70% was walking down the street. So right there, we said, look, wait, we have to look at our facade and see what are the ways that I can improve this experience just from the people that are walking by. Of course, that's a different ball game, probably here in Miami, for example, or in other places in the US. But you have to understand where you are and try to improve that hospitality in the best way possible to be able to, as you said, have people coming back and people starting to talk about you. It's not just having them coming back, but how can I spark and get that wow factor that people are going to share. They're going to talk with, they're going to give the Google review, and share their feedbacks. And I think we're doing what we believe, and the results, I think, from that beginning of putting the people together is helping us strive, and believe that we can bring our concept to more spaces and giving us the energy to open new locations. We're negotiating 2 new leases right now in New York, trying to find a good second location here in Miami, just because we have, people that are in our teams wanting to grow. That's another aspect. If you don't have people inside of your organization that wants to grow, you're gonna accommodate. You're not gonna have that. Okay, I'm ready. If you don't have an assistant manager that wants to be a manager, that manager is gonna continue there. He's not gonna want to grow. And so I think all those little points they come together. And it stimulates us, in a day-to-day basis to continue.
Completely. And it's so interesting hearing you talk about this, right? Because we first started this answer talking about like the having retention be stronger when hospitality is there, right? And then you start talking as well about the fact that, when you take that hospitality, that culture that you want and imprint it outward now onto the facade, right? And then you have the team that buys in and we can grow around it. It seems like the common theme here is, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've developed this foundation of culture of hospitality, and that's what's now creating financial impact. So talk to me about, pardon me?
It's a consequence, right? The financial part becomes a consequence of all these steps that we're working towards.
So exactly, right? They all play into that next step, right? And I see a lot of people come into the restaurant industry who might have an immense amount of financial knowledge, and they think they're going to be great at this industry because they're great with numbers, they're great at the business, but they don't understand how to tell the story, right? Or the people that are in it. And then they sadly make some very critical mistakes. And I see the opposite of people who have an unbelievable culture and they're very, very strong, but they don't necessarily look at those little tiny things, right? Maybe bringing people together and the financial implications and everything like that. So talk to me about this. It sounds like you're bringing in more locations. It sounds like you have 2 different kind of markets here that you've been growing within, New York, Miami. How do you take that culture that's been so paramount in New York and building this, bridge it into Miami, but then expand out of that as well?
That's a great question. And we're totally learning. We're learning day to day, and it's hard because 2 different markets, really different markets, right? So in our day to day, looking even at the numbers and looking, we challenge ourselves, like we have to turn the switch. We can't compare Miami to New York, first of all. And how can we adapt, right? So when we came to Miami, we just completed a year in almost 3 months now. Our location in Brickell. We decided to go to Brickell because of the foot traffic. So Miami is much more destination. People in their cars and knowing where to go, but Brickell is like that finance crowd, and you have the companies, people walking on the street. But at the same time, it's a huge different foot traffic. So how can we adapt, looking at the guests, but also looking at the team, as like going to your question. For us, I think we have a particular aspect of it because we have we're bringing Brazil with Brazilians, almost completing like the team, right? So for us, when you have the staff, we were talking about this other day, me and my brother, because I think the industry, it's challenging. It's when you look at when you start talking about people and staff and culture, it's challenging. Yeah. Very. And I think we still have to talk a lot more, because the real day-to-day, we have people that are waking up every day, and nobody grew up wanting to work in a restaurant. We have to understand that. And having that understanding that there's going to be people that are coming in, they're going to work here, they're going to have a good environment. That's what we work a lot to get the best environment for our staff in New York and Miami. But sometimes it's going to just be a trampoline. People are like, they want to be artists. They want to work in different places, but they're having that moment working in the restaurant. They're learning. And, at the same time, we have that too, but we have a factor that are having Brazilians in a Brazilian fast casual concept, and having 88% of our guests being non-Brazilians. It brings something internally for these staff members, these team members, because we're talking about Brazil to the global community. It's in a lot of them, they grew up eating tapioca sandwiches, açaí, and pão de queijo. That are our three main products, TAP. So that plays a big role in when we talk about hospitality, how to get these teams motivated and inside our culture, even being in two different markets. Like for us, I live here in Miami. My brother lives in New York, and we're back and forth. So that helps a lot as well. Like, it's not like we're in New York, we open in Miami, we're there just a few times a month. I think that helps a lot, being like separate and giving the attention that we need to give to the teams, and to understand each day the market. We have a challenging scenario here in Miami, looking at the restaurant business as a whole. Like the summer, we thought coming to Miami was summer all year long, and we're doing great in New York. When winter comes, the sales comes down, but in Miami it's going to be different, right? But it's not, the reality is not that. And that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur and in the restaurant business. I think we challenge ourselves in a daily pace, and we have to have the resilience. We talk a lot about that, having resilience with the challenges that come. And I think to the point that you asked, I think we have to adapt and understand each market, but with the staff, it's pretty much the same. We try to bring the staff together. For example, just to put in practice, we got a staff member from Miami. We took the staff to New York. We got a staff member from New York to Miami to live in, and we got the managers also. The managers from Miami went to New York. New York came to Miami. And I think that's also a beauty of being in two great markets, and having the staff like dream together with us. Like, they can have the possibility to work in New York if they want. People from New York, they can come to Miami. And I think that also brings together what we're building. Cohesion. That's a good word.
It brings people together.
Exactly.
What I'm really curious about too, in changing gears a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. Like, first of all, totally appreciate the way that you're taking the cultural element of what you're bringing to your customers so seriously. Right. Yeah. The background of where this comes from, and how the majority of people who come through your doors may never experience this before. Like, it's beautiful to see just how serious you take that small interaction, right?
It's a responsibility. Yeah,
exactly. I love it.
It's just to go on top of that. We talk a lot about the responsibility of bringing Brazil, and it can sound like, oh my God, it's a dream, it's a fantasy or anything. But for us, normally people think about Brazil as like barbecue and caipirinha, and Brazil is the same as the US. It's a continent. It has such a diverse cuisine, and we still have a long way to go, like worldwide, of what Brazil can can share in the restaurant business. And for us, we're bringing a little bit, like we're bringing a little bit of the Amazon, the Northeast and the Southeast. But for us, it's a responsibility of people, as you said, coming to TAP and experiencing Brazil for the first time. We have guests that never went to Brazil and saying, okay, this is already good for me. Or even guests like, I'm putting Brazil in my bucket list. I want to visit because this is so amazing, So we have to, we bring that responsibility in our day to day. So we talk a lot about being serious in the details and what we're actually bringing, but at the same time, understanding that we are authentic, but also understanding the culture that we are in the US. So we have a lot of fun facts that I could share here, but just one, like looking at the tapioca sandwiches, we understood that we had to create a menu that bridges Brazil and the US, So we have a bacon, egg, and cheese tapioca sandwich. We have a Philly steak now tapioca sandwich. We have a chicken club. That's our best seller. We don't have that in Brazil. We don't have a chicken club tapioca sandwich in Brazil, but we have it here, because that's the way that we understood that nobody knows what's a tapioca sandwich. Probably everybody that's going to listen to this, the majority never ate a tapioca sandwich, but what's a chicken club. So, okay, let me try it out. We have the acai that a lot of people already know about it, and it's disseminated in a way that it's a superfood, it's a super fruit. We have antioxidants, but people don't know what's a tapioca, don't know what's a pão de queijo. So that bridge is important for us to be able to have that number, 88%. Non-Brazilians, if we think about only Brazil, we're just going to think about the Brazilian community, and we're not going to be able to scale and bring what we want to bring to more communities,
No, I think that's amazing. The responsibility, right? And I think it's cool, right? The bacon, egg, and cheese, Philly cheesesteak, right? You're making it more inviting for someone to come in, and then maybe they try something else that is true to your culture, right? And they experience it. They become open to it. It's great. Yeah. Looking at or changing gears here, you guys obviously a newer brand. I'm assuming you're making newer investments. What are some technologies or processes that you're trying to bring in that might not be typical that regular restaurants might be going through?
That's a good question, James. Me and my brother, we love data, right? Like I'm from the marketing world, he's from the restaurant, but we started to understand every year, these last few years, the importance of data and trying to make decisions with that in our hand, and we're building like our tech stack, we have a lot of softwares, and I know the industry is overwhelming nowadays with the softwares and the possibilities that you can bring in. And I think we have to be able to filter and see what is good for us in that moment, in which stage, as we were talking. But you have to put the investment, you have to be open to understand that there are possibilities out there that could or save us money, because we know that the industry, the margins are tight, or level up our brand experience, brand recognition, customer experience, being able to open a conversation with a guest that it's not 100% satisfied and have had feedbacks to share. And especially in the back end, everything we do is thinking of, okay, how can we, what do we need, and how can we improve to be able to scale in a more organized way? Because we're still with 4 locations. So it's much easier now to try to find what's the base, So we've been working with several companies like R365. It's a restaurant software. Yep. It's robust. We know it's expensive. It has a cost, but at the same time, it brings and delivers a lot of things that you have to be prepared to even use those things. We're right now, we're still scaling and getting to try to use and utilize everything that the software has to offer to us. But I think in what we have to look into the data, looking at like our POS, crossing the numbers with our loyalty program, looking at the invoices, price of food, having possibilities to compare and get to our vendors saying, look, these prices are fluctuating, and being able to project, what we're gonna have next month and year over year, same store sales, I think there's things out there, and what I've seen talking with other restaurateurs, I think still there are a lot of people like going slowly towards that direction. And sometimes it can feel overwhelming as well. Like so many people reaching out and with solutions for this and that. And when you see you have like 10 different softwares and, how do I operate everything, So, but at the same time, I think we have you have to try to seek for what your needs and try, you have to put it in, see if it works. If it doesn't work, change, like change gears and data can help us a lot in the restaurant business. Back of house, front of house, and for us, it has been really, really nice for us to change our menu. We changed our menu. We brought an update last month. It was almost everything based out of data. The items that we were going to take out, it wasn't just me and Cleo thinking, okay, let's take out this item. Let's put in this item. No, let's study the market. Let's see what's performing, what's not performing. Let's see what our loyalty guests are thinking. Let's do a survey with our team, because the team is every day in the store listening to the guests. Oh, I wanted this. Oh, you don't have that. Oh, I imagine if you guys had this or that. So we did a survey with our team to get the feedback, to then take it to the food and beverage manager and say, look, okay, these are the feedbacks. These are the numbers. Let's dig in and see what's our new menu going to look like,
Definitely. Well, I think data ultimately gives you leverage, and that leverage allows you to be proactive. And it can be overwhelming when there's a bunch of different technology systems that promise to do a million different things, and you don't know if they're going to be true. And at the end of the day, margins are thin, so you don't really want to screw with what works.
Exactly.
But if you can find the needle in the haystack, or if you can figure out what you want to create leverage from, or where you'd want to be proactive, there's such an awesome opportunity to allow technology to get back to what we're all great at in the restaurant industry, which is providing a great guest experience. It's not about being in the back, right? It's not about living in the back office. GMs need to be on the floor. Director of operations need to be working with GMs. You don't want people sitting punching in invoices. So anywhere that we can automate, anytime that we can bring in that data set to allow us to make a better decision, it's the guest that wins.
Yeah, exactly. It's a connection,
Completely.
If we have the managers talking more with the guests than, as you said, punching invoices or putting in orders and thinking about what's happening in the basement, we need them proactively understanding that this is your house. Let's take care of it. Let's make it the best ambience possible for the staff and for the guests that are coming in every day. And that makes a big difference.
Yeah, completely. Well, Pedro, thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, I'd love for, now that we've been speaking for about 28 minutes, why don't you introduce yourself, give us the background on who you are, and thank you again for coming onto the show to speak about your story.
Beautiful, James. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Pedro Uchoa. I'm Brazilian, 38 years old. Joined Tapi 3 years ago with my brother. I have a background in marketing. I also was a professional soccer player. I was a goalkeeper until I was 22. So like sports plays a big role with me as well, like on my day to day and the way I approach things and the way I deal with people and diversity. I think soccer teach me a lot on that, and having my background in marketing to the restaurant business, I think we still have a long way to go with Tapi. And I truly believe that we can bring Brazil to more and more places with our concept, and hope to have everybody that's listening to at one of our locations.
Amazing. Well, thank you again.
Beautiful.